I use cheques quite a lot to pay for things like the little clubs that my kids do after school. It's very handy to be able to keep an eye on your finances. You don't want to continually be going onto the internet or paying things by direct debit. It's a very nice way of being able to keep control of your finances. And the Conservative policy on this is quite clear. We agree that the only reason the chequebooks should go is if there is something that people feel very happy that they are prepared to replace them with. It shouldn't go leaving people stranded. So we have met with the different bodies that are governing this, and we've said that we will meet again in 2016 when this is due to begin to be phased out. And if we do not feel confident that there is a satisfactory method by which this can be replaced, then we will not let it happen. The other thing I would say is that I think that post offices can do more as well. Over the years, we've seen a decline of the post office, and many of our urban and rural post offices have shut down. And I think this is an area by which we can actually bring the post office in. We can encourage them to do more. They're such a valuable part of our local community. And I think that by working together with the post office, we might be able to find that there's a solution which isn't cheques, but it isn't paying everything online or by direct debit. It's a halfway house which protects our post offices, but also protects people who don't want to have to do everything via the internet.
All right, thank you very much. Short and sweet. Right. The next person to give us their views on this is Rob Highlands. Rob, please.
Right. Absolutely, along with Caroline, I also run a business and I also use a fair number of cheques. I don't know about you, but these cards that you use with your PIN numbers, do you ever remember what your PIN number is? Because it's a bit difficult, isn't it? I would pretty much guarantee that as far as Liberal Democrats are concerned, we're not going to force anybody to stop using a system that they are perfectly happy and willing to use. Unless there was a situation where nobody used cheques anymore, I couldn't see them being completely phased out. I do know, like Caroline says, that it's not until 2016 before they actually start looking at this. But I would fight to make sure that the older generation is heard, because I'm rapidly heading towards being one of them myself. And that's just how I would say.
Government policy on this is very clear, that the cheques will only be phased out in October 2018 if adequate alternatives are developed, especially concerning those who are vulnerable with special needs and those who are elderly and people who want those needs met which will not be satisfactorily met by the internet. Of course, we have to have something that's easy to use, where there are efficient alternatives and understood by everybody. The reasons for the change are very clear to, I think, everybody in this room. That cheques are the most expensive form of transaction for shops. They push up the cost of goods, they make small businesses less competitive, and cheques no longer fit into a 21st century global economy. Those things are not arguable, but it doesn't reduce the fear that people have about losing what for them is the favoured way of, as you said in your question, sending cheques as birthday presents or small transactions. What I would want to say is that I don't think the Tory policy of protecting the post offices by privatising them, as Kenneth Clarke, the shadow Tory Chancellor, said they would to fully privatise the post offices, would do anything to protect cheques. I think on the contrary, we've got a number of years to solve this, but it has to be, first of all, a way acceptable to everybody in this room.
Next is Dave Smith.
Okay, thank you once again. An inquiry was looked into phase out the use of cheques in February by the UK Payments Council. Obviously, it was a Labour quango. cheques are very important to people that are in small businesses and people that are pensioners using to pay bills, and we're fully aware of that. I'm sick to death of hearing about we can't afford cheques. Well, why is it then we can't afford to let people use their cheques, and yet we can pay these bankers thousands and thousands of pounds in bonuses? That is what needs to be addressed. It's the greed, and this is another extension of the greed factor of our bankers, just trying to take more money back. Because if you go online and do it, they haven't got to do any work, but they're still earning vast amounts of money. I have been lobbying against the reduction of cheques because I use them, small businesses need them, and they are the backbone of our society, and obviously you guys need them as well to pay your everyday bills. You should not be forced into having to log on to a computer to pay a bill. You know, we're getting into a nanny state, aren't we, where we're doing this, we're told to do everything. You know, everything we do in walk of life, we're being told that we have to do this, we have to do that. It's just not on. I will, and I've continued to lobby, and will continue to lobby, that cheques for people will remain, and bankers' high inflated bonuses will be scrapped.
Technological advance is inevitable, and I think just as phone boxes have eventually been phased out, so will cheques. I'm a bit of a technophobe, and there will come a time when I'll be in a similar position, because now we use chip and pin. When I'm 70 or 80, people will be saying we'll phase out chip and pin, and I will struggle a bit with that. So history will repeat itself, and if we can see the big picture and look ahead, I think there's a degree of inevitability that cheques will go. Many more older people can cope with the technology better than you think. Don't underestimate yourselves. My public relations officer in my tiny campaign team is 75 years old, and he's put together my website. My mother-in-law is 85 and happily sends texts. My own mother is 86 with Alzheimer's, and she obviously can't cope with the technology, but I'll be able to refer to her as a case study in another question, I think. Those that can't respond, and I think it's good for the ageing process if you can respond to do without cheques, should be assisted, for example, by the Gosport Voluntary Action or the Gosport Community Care Groups to come into homes and help people deal with their transactions. Similarly, families have got to begin to play again that traditional role of supporting their elderly people. That is my